I 37 lost my wife of 10 years and it was so devastating for me and my daughter. It's unfortunate but life goes on no matter what happens. My family knows how much I struggle as a single dad and my sister doesn't really get it. She had issues with my late wife in the past but now started helping with my daughter. She redecorated my daughter's room without my consent. She'd insist I let my daughter go spend days at her house, but my daughter is comfortable at her home. She then started calling my daughter with another name and I'm still trying to understand her logic behind this. I told her to stop doing those things and to be respectful and supportive and she defended herself saying I'm lashing out of grief. I recently started teaching my daughter to do stuff on her own like brush her hair or clean her room or wash her cups or make sandwiches while I take care of bigger stuff. My sister said that what I'm doing is wrong. That I'm giving her more than she can handle. She's just a kid and although I told her I'm teaching my daughter to be more independent she said that I'm clearly doing this for my own benefits and avoiding responsibility. I got into a fight with her about it. Told her she has zero say in this. And the next day. The Child Protective Service officer came to my house and took a tour around the house. My first thought was maybe he got the wrong house until he started reading the report to me, saying that I'm never home and that I make my daughter do things that aren't her responsibility, neglecting her education, by the way she's homeschooled, and that I'm not taking care of basic hygiene and whatnot. I told the officer my story and explained that I'm adapting as a single parent and he proceeded to ask my daughter some questions. It was clearly a false report. However, I was told that I will have a permanent record with Child Protective Service. And I was shaken up by this. I told my family about it and my younger sister told me that my sister was the one who called Child Protective Service after we had a big argument. I was so mad I confronted her after she hit herself. Called her immature and stupid to pull this crap, she's in her 40s and that she's no longer my sister. Then cut contact. It's been months and now my dad started bringing her up knowing how uncomfortable I was. He said that my sister feels sorry for what she did and wanted to talk things out at Christmas dinner. But I said no. He and the others insisted saying that I should be the bigger person. The family will be incomplete without me and my daughter on Christmas. Saying I refuse to be a civil adult to solve the issue that is dividing the family. I yelled and said that my daughter and I don't have to go after what she did, doesn't matter if she has issues on her own, and didn't mean it and was just concerned. What the hell was she so concerned about? They demanded that I at least let my daughter go be with them and her auntie on Christmas. Not the idiot. My 4-year-old knows how to do some of that stuff. Supervised, but still. Teaching kids how to take care of themselves is not only is going to help them be healthier adults, but builds confidence while they're children. It is very healthy and normal for them to know how to do things for themselves. Her having a new name picked out for your daughter is a weird and huge red flag. I'd say this was coming down the pipeline, fight or not. I would remain very, very firm on this boundary and not allow her to have any contact or relationship with your daughter. Not the idiot your sister was willing to risk your daughter being taken from you and the family, or perhaps hope she'd be placed with her, and you having serious, long-term legal consequences so that she could throw a temper tantrum for not getting her way. Your daughter should never be left alone with her again, and if your family wants to pretend it's not a big deal, because it's easier for them, well they don't care about your daughter's best interests either. I'm so frustrated with the trend of person does something ridiculous or horrible or stupid to loved one or family or friend, and then everyone expects the wronged individual to just forget and be the bigger person so that the trouble causer doesn't feel bad. What your sister did was horrible, traumatic, and dangerous. You're protecting your daughter and yourself by keeping away from her. Not the idiot. Unfortunately, it sounds like other families trying to force a reconciliation might also need to be kept at arm's reach. Me, 27, and fiancé, 29, have been together for 8 years. Until we got engaged I was very close with his 4 sisters, then when he proposed I was frozen out. They'd been fine with me being his girlfriend, but I didn't deserve to be Mrs. Last Name. We had been planning to ask all of them to be bridesmaids. I told fiancé I'd still ask them too for his sake, but he refused and said they deserved nothing more than an invitation as basic courtesy if they don't support our marriage. This is when their attitude got worse. Anytime they could they'd make idiot comments about me and the wedding. Make sure you find a plus-size wedding dress shop. I'm a size 12. I won't stay the night, it's not worth my time. Aren't you worried what people will think if you have roses? I know that from what my fiancé has been told. They are furious to have not been made bridesmaids and feel I chose to do that to exclude them from everything. That brings us to now. We had to cancel our big 2021 wedding due to obvious reasons. Instead, next year we're renting a 9-bedroom holiday home with a nice garden and having a small ceremony of 30 immediate family and close friends, and then just a low-key party in the garden afterwards. We assigned bedrooms to our parents and bridal party. When we told mother-in-law, she asked where the sisters' rooms were. We told her all the other guests can stay at the inn, 4 minutes walk away. I checked, which is actually loads cheaper than the rooms we've paid for the bridal party. Within 3 hours of speaking to mother-in-law, the eldest sister was on the phone to fiancé crying that I have once again excluded his sisters and they are sick of me. Apparently, the situation had reduced mother-in-law to tears. Fiancé was defending me to her, but at one point turned to ask me a question about the inn. If they had family rooms, they do, and when his sister heard my voice, she demanded to speak to me. Fiancé refused and said he's her brother, so if she has an issue to take it up with her. However, I'd reached the end of my tether and agreed to talk to her. She immediately began berating me, and I just snapped and cut her off with name. If I cared about your opinion on my wedding, don't you think I'd have asked you to be bridesmaid? And handed fiancé the phone back. He hung up on her after that. His entire family is furious, and even my maid of honor and my parents have said I shouldn't have said that since it hadn't even been my decision about the wedding party, and I knew it was a sore point. They also said now if his sisters do show up for the wedding, it'll be really awkward for everyone, and no one will have fun, and I've ruined the whole day. Am I the idiot for snapping at his sister with something I knew would anger her? Not the idiot 100%. They disrespected you since the moment you got engaged. They don't deserve to be up there with you on your big day. I'm really happy to hear your partner had your back throughout all of this. I can't believe she thought she could insult you. I'm a 12 too, and look damn good, and still think she deserves to be in the wedding party. You go have an amazing wedding, and those who are being negative are welcome not to go. The new venue sounds beautiful. Not the idiot. Your hubby-to-be is doing a great job, but enough is enough. He needs to have a family meeting and outline how all of their behaviors are completely out of line. This wedding is about celebrating your commitment and the beginning of building your new family and future together. If they can't shut up and be happy about it, not only will they not be at the wedding, they will not be a part of your future. You are his wife and will be mother of his children if you want them, and disrespecting you is not allowed. Not the idiot. What is it about weddings that makes everybody go overboard? It's like what everyone and anyone wants is the most important thing, except of course for the people actually getting married. They don't want their brother to marry you, but they do want to be bridesmaids at the wedding they don't want to take place. Okay, that's some serious doublethink right there. Looks like everyone's made you the villain in this scenario when all you want to do is get married to bridesmaids who are actually happy for you. I was friends with a girl named Jenny in middle and high school. Our friendship was tumultuous. She tended to say mean things and could be very judgmental. She called me skinny idiot a lot despite me asking her not to. She also talked about me behind my back a lot. I stayed friends with her because I had low self-esteem and didn't want to be completely friendless. It's pathetic, I know. After we graduated, I got my own apartment and job, then started college. We were about 18 and 19. She met a guy named David online, and they decided to meet for an outing they chose not to call a date. It wasn't going super well, so Jenny had David come with her to my apartment to watch movies. She liked him, but he just wanted to be friends and told her as much. I played wingman regardless, trying to help her out. Days later, David starts texting me. Jenny admits she gave him my number because he asked for it and she thought we had a lot in common. I'm furious at first, but decide to let it go. At first, I don't like David, but as we talk, we have a spark. He asked me out, and I said no. I knew Jenny still liked him. He reminded me they were just friends. He kept asking, and I said I wanted to clear things with Jenny first. So I called her, asking for her blessing before I'll say yes. Jenny went nuts. She said I was a horrible friend, a jerk, an idiot, and couldn't believe I would stab her in the back like this. I tried to apologize and explain that I never meant for it to happen, but she wouldn't hear it. She said I was not allowed to date David ever because she liked him. She and her sister started posting awful stuff about me online, including pictures of me talking about how ugly I was. Then they started calling me at all hours, leaving me messages. I tried to appeal to our other friends, but they agreed with her for breaking the girl code. Since my friends already hated me now, I went out with David anyway, and we're still together over a decade later. I have not spoken to Jenny or our friends in years now. This has bothered me for a long time. I've always tried to be a good friend and not pull any shady stuff. So, now I ask you. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. David had made it clear he only wanted to be friends with Jenny. She doesn't own him and can't decide who he dates. Any potential idiotness is wiped clean from you being together 10 years later. You tried to handle it maturely, but she firmly went into an idiot territory by slamming you online. Full disclosure. I was in a similar situation, but my Jenny said yes to me dating my husband. She was hurt, I only found this out afterwards, but she was respectful, and we are still friends 12 years later. Not the idiot. I'm so sick of this idea that people own the rights to date someone. Yes, if you just had a breakup with your long-term SO, your friends should be respectful enough not to immediately start dating them, but this girl wasn't even with a guy. Maybe I'm a weirdo cause I've also stayed friends with all my exes, but when my first ever real boyfriend and one of my good friends started dating, my only thought was that I was surprised they hadn't gotten together sooner. Not the idiot. She behaved badly from the offset and was clearly using you. I don't think you owed her anything. Besides that, I tend to feel like the girl code is a bit juvenile. David was never her boyfriend, there were no complex emotions or history there, she just tried to call dibs on someone who was never interested in her in the first place. David is a person who can make his own choices about who he likes. She has no right to him. You are perfectly entitled to enter into a relationship with someone who isn't even her ex without it making you a bad friend. Throwaway account. I know I seem like the idiot, but here is the background. I'm 17, I live with my dad and his wife. Fashion is a hobby I have, I like to buy and sell designer clothes. I love to shop for people, I actually make okay money doing this as a part-time job. My dad and stepmom make fun of me for it and call me vain. They don't think it's a valuable use of my time, but I don't care. It's what I like. Despite making fun of me for my hobby, my stepmom constantly borrows my clothes. Oftentimes without my permission. I have told my dad about this, he says not to be selfish. It's her house, she helps to take care of you. This pisses me off, but whatever. I recently saved up a bunch of money and bought a white silk-lined Burberry blazer. This is a pretty expensive jacket. My stepmother borrowed it for what I'm assuming is Thanksgiving and put it back in my closet with a huge stain on it. Like she didn't even tell me she stained it, and she let the stain set in for a day or so in my closet. I went directly to her and said, "What the hell did you do to my coat?" And she laughed and said she spilled a bit of wine on it and it was no big deal. I could just have it dry cleaned. I asked her if she was going to pay for it, she said no. And even if I get it dry cleaned, there might be permanent discoloration in the area of the stain. I demanded that she pay for dry cleaning, and if it didn't work she had to buy me a new jacket. And she laughed again and said tough luck. I freaking lost it at her, cursed at her, and got grounded by my dad. I plotted and came up with the idea to empty some wine in a spray bottle and spray some of her white blouses with red wine. I did it. And when she noticed she was furious. She is even telling my dad that she wants me to go live with my mom, even though I only have one semester of high school left. My dad wants me to apologize, but I'm not going to until she pays for my coat. I don't think I'm in the wrong here, am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here, but I understand where you're coming from. Your stepmom is clearly the idiot and you responded in an idiot manner, but as a fellow clothing reseller, the thought of someone carelessly trashing a freaking Burberry blazer would probably drive me off the deep end too. Basic human decency indicates that if you borrow something from someone, ask first, and if you damage it, apologize and do what you can do to fix it. The fact that your stepmom has done neither is unfortunate and you don't deserve to be treated that way. Not the idiot. It did seem like a bratty thing to do until I read about her entitlement and irresponsibility. Finish high school and get the hell out of there. I think she has learned her lesson now, although she sounds a bit stupid, so maybe not. I'm afraid you are gonna have to give up on the coat, you probably damaged an equal value of her things with your stunt. But going forward, if you care about it, you may need to keep it at your mom's house or only buy cheap stuff if there's a chance she can get her hands on it. Consider locking your closet. Everyone's the idiot here and your dad needs to recognize that he has let a naturally fraught relationship, step-parent, get way out of hand. He's in the middle, he needs to broker a peace here. As to the two belligerents, she is the bigger idiot, she sounds like a real piece of work based on your side of the story, but you're not off the hook, tacky as it sounds. This is a absolutely perfect example of two wrongs, don't make a right or eye for an eye, makes the whole world blind. Living a vengeful life is not a good path. My sister and I have never gotten on that well. We're only 10 months apart so struggled to have our own identities outside of each other. When she was 19, she got pregnant and started her family with her now husband. She had 3 kids and then tried for a 4th, which was born stillborn with no warning. Understandably, she was devastated, but this was 10 years ago now and she's had 2 children since. She's always used it as an excuse for things. If she wants a bit of attention from our parents, she brings it up and they're straight there. If she's late to a family gathering, oh sorry I'm late, we were visiting baby's grave, oh sorry I'm late, I was just sad about baby, and I do understand it, but I was told at 14 that I'm infertile, so for her to be like that when she has 5 healthy children always feels like a massive kick in the teeth. A few nights ago her and her family came over to my husband and I's house, as well as our parents and other sister who's a few years older than us. The anniversary of her stillbirth was the day before, so I was expecting it to be brought up at some point. I asked her to help me cook dinner, and when she brought a tray out of the oven, she didn't look where she was going and burned me on the arm. Her excuse was that she was thinking about the baby that should have been 10 years old today. I tried to push it out of my mind to keep the peace. It gets to eating our dinner, and it's all her and her husband are talking about. I asked about how her actual living kids are doing, and she brought it back to her stillbirth. I asked how her job was going, and she somehow managed to bring it back. I was getting absolutely sick of it, so I just said, do you not think it's time you should be grateful for the kids you have, get therapy and get over it? She burst into tears, of course, and her husband called me an idiot before leaving with her. My parents are absolutely furious with me, saying you know what she's been through, and even my husband is saying it was uncalled for. Am I the idiot? As the father of a stillborn whose birthday was last week, what the hell man? I'm 4 years in, and I've only recently started getting through days without crying about it, and that's with meds and therapy. There's no time limit on this. At all. Every year you'll think, oh they'd have gotten their license this year, or oh they would have graduated. I'm not saying it's an excuse to be crappy in any way, but never ever say to get over it. I don't want to call you an idiot, but maybe think about it and ponder how exactly one gets over the death of a child. Everyone's the idiot here. I agree with you, but I think the way you put it to her was uncalled for. I can't tell if she's really struggling or just using it as an excuse because it's just from your side, but I assume you're just frustrated with her and not some evil person. I agree she needs help to deal with it if it's truly affecting her to that extent still, but there is definitely a way to put that lightly. I said everyone's the idiot here because it feels like sister is being inconsiderate about your infertility, and I feel for her living kids. Everyone's the idiot here. You shouldn't have gone off on her like that, especially knowing that the inevitable result will be the result you got. However, it sounds like, although this was a big anniversary, she is always bringing it up. I'd suggest that she needs to read the room, but it seems that the room wants to indulge her never-ending grief. And her grief is probably never-ending. But I worry about her other kids as she seems to be unable to focus on them, even when people ask without bringing up her loss.